Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Capricorn, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for the month of September 2023. I hope you are well. I'm using the Edmond Dulac Tarot for you today. Just before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That is the first link in the description box. The second link in the description box is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, over on Circle. You can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost. Plus hang out with an extraordinary group of people, and I don't say that lightly, they really are quite amazing. So if that's something that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with that link. Right, let's have a look and see what's going on. I have 3 cards for Capricorn, please. There we go. Right, we have 2 in your recent past. Let me just flip you around so you can see that. We have the Hermit and we have the Knight of Cups in your recent past. Current energy for Capricorn, please. Thank you. We have the 3 of Swords in reverse. That's a nice card. And what about current energy for Capricorn, please? Current energy for Capricorn. Oh, I got the 10 of Wands in reverse. Right, we'll see whether that's a welcome or not thing. I think possibly it will be with the other cards that we see on the table. Plus you have the Lovers card at the bottom of the deck there. I'm sorry that these cards are really quite busy, but they are extraordinarily beautiful. The busyness of the tablecloth kind of adds to all of that. But hopefully you can see well enough what we're talking about here. The reason that I said we'll see with that 10 of Wands is because although the 10 of Wands is an uncomfortable card, it does represent an end. When it shows up in the reverse, there's a delay to that end in some sort of way. But conversely, it can also speak to not quite needing to reach a point of the 10 of Wands, which is a card of burden and hard work. Actually kind of reaching breaking point in some way. You know, we've got somebody here who's literally bent over double. There we go, put it where you can actually see it. Bent over double with the strain of carrying what it is that they're carrying. Now, the fact that the Lovers card is at the bottom of the deck here makes me feel like it's more positively aspected, in so much as we're kind of recognizing that we're getting to breaking point and pulling back from that before we get there. But we will see. We'll get some clarifiers out on the table. Tell me about the Hermit and the Knight of Cups, please. We've got the Knight of Swords. Fucking hell. Breaking everything up. There we go. Knight of Cups. We have the Tower in reverse. So one more. We have the 5 of Wands in reverse. Tell me about the 3 of Swords. Thank you. We have the 2 of Pentacles. And we have the Devil in reverse. Tell me about the 10 of Wands, please. 9 of Pentacles. Fuck. And the King of Swords. Right. At the bottom of the deck, what do we have? We have the 8 of Swords. Now, I actually really like it when the 8 of Swords appears, and that's probably going to sound a little bit strange to people. And I don't know if it's because I'm a life path 8, and that's the underlying thing here. Because 8 is all about power, right? It's about how we experience, how we express power. It's how we use it in the most beneficial way that we can. It's how we choose to empower ourselves, and by extension how we empower other people. But it's also sometimes how we react to it. Now, the reason that I'm telling you all of this is because obviously we have that notions of that encapsulated within just the numerology of the card. But in the first instance, what this speaks to is a restricted mindset, right? It's somebody not thinking about things in a clear way, having lost perspective, feeling stuck, feeling trapped, feeling like there isn't really a way out. The reason why I welcome this card when it comes up is because it shows us that a situation that we think is intractable really is only that way because of the way that we're thinking about it. So if we can shift our thinking, if we can shift our perspective, more often than not, it is possible for us to be able to navigate it through it without coming to any kind of dead end. We've got a woman here who is blindfolded and she is bound and she's surrounded in swords. It has on the face of it the look of a fairly perilous situation. But she's not bound tightly, which means she can get her hands free, which means then she can also remove the blindfold from her eyes and she can navigate through these swords without, coming to any sort of damage. But in the first instance, you have to wriggle your hands free. And that's where the power comes from in this situation, is being able to allow yourself to think about something differently. And that might involve putting things down that you thought were important, thought were valuable. And we've just been through Venus retrograde, and I think a lot of people have found that quite crunchy, because we have been reassessing and rejigging our priorities around in the face of what has been coming up with that retrograde energy, But we have here the Lovers, which is about union and harmony and coming together and all these kind of things, right? We've got all of those ideas encapsulated within the Lovers card, but it also speaks of a decision. And in light of the Eight of Swords, the decision, the most positive decision that you can make is to willingly, of your own free will, of your own free volition, engage with the idea that you might be thinking about this situation in the wrong way. And there's a tremendous power in that, because there's a liberation in that. And that, I feel, is an incredibly positive overarching theme, or underlying theme, or whatever you like, for the energy of September as it is working on you. So we start off with the Hermit and the Knight of Cups. Now, in the first instance, you may have just been going very deeply within to consider a relationship with the Pisces. I mean, that's an obvious thing. We're going to mention that straight out. Possibly how you could repair a relationship with the Pisces, because obviously Knight of Cups is Pisces. We have a Knight of Swords there, which is a desire for communication, and we also have the Tower in reverse, and we have the Five of Wands in reverse. This feels to me like a desire to repair a relationship, for some of you, a relationship that has broken down, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be with a Pisces. It could be Virgo, it could be Gemini, it could be Scorpio, it could be Aries, could even be Leo, actually. There's a desire to bring peace where there was none before, where something's gone wrong, right? Open the doors of communication again. If that isn't your situation, then there's still an aspect of that seems to be at play here, because the Hermit card is the deep exploration of self, right? It's an understanding that there is knowledge and wisdom that is contained within us, but we have to go looking for it. So it's a very inward facing kind of energy. Instead of looking around outside of us, we're kind of looking to go within to see, with this Knight of Cups, which is this heart-centered consciousness, how we could express that, how we express our deepest emotions that are contained within here. And literally how we express it, because the Knight of Swords is there. The Knight of Swords could indicate a new way of thinking about things, but it could be a new way of expressing your love for things. I mean, maybe you've come to a realization that between you and a partner, or you and a friend, or you and a family member, that there are very, very different love languages spoken. And the way that you've attempted to express your heart to them in the past is not being received, because they simply don't understand it. So where could there be an adjustment come in? Where could there be something that you do slightly differently, so that the lines of communication can open again? I don't think at this point that, if this is the case for you, that those lines of communication have opened up yet, because the very first card is the Hermit, right? This is not an energy of outward expression. It's an energy of inward journey. So it's like still trying to work out how it is that you would approach this situation and say, actually, I really care. And I know that things have have become a little unstable. I would say a little unstable, but where can we bring the balance back to this? I say a little unstable because the Tower card here showed up in the reverse. Now, where the Tower would be in the upright, such as this, it really would be this. Things have fallen down here. Things have not stood the test of time. The foundations have been shaken, and correspondingly, everybody's fallen out of the Tower, and it's a great big fucking shit show, right? And then it would be, how do I fix this? How do I bring peace to this situation? How do I reduce the amount of conflict here? But the Tower's in reverse, which makes me wonder if on some sort of deep level you are concerned that things are, possibly, could be, might be, Tower upright in nature. That actually maybe just a little bit too much water's gone under the bridge. But there's something hopeful about the energy. Now, I'm saying hopeful, but for some of you it could be a little bit more like almost kind of like engaging in a level of self-deception. Like, I'm not recognizing that the Tower's happened. I'm not recognizing that water has gone under the bridge. I'm possibly trying to, in its most difficult expression, trying to pretend that this thing hasn't happened, right? That everything's fine, and you know, it doesn't matter what's gone on, we can fix this in some sort of way. But just the fact that the Tower has appeared at all does make me think that somewhere deep down there is a feeling that maybe that might not be the case. Now, the thing that I would say here, Capricorn, about this past energy before we move on, is that what would I say here? Ah, yes. When what it is that you're wrestling with is the approach of someone else, or what you have been wrestling with is the way by which you approach someone and show your care and affection. Whilst the Hermit energy is really positive in terms of going internally and looking for answers that way, it's not actually addressing the problem, right? It's still keeping it a fairly ephemeral position, because there isn't much that is being done about the approach. And I wonder if this is kind of, for some of you, this might be taking on a procrastinatory quality, and that's something that you need to be aware of. For others of you, I think it is genuinely that you're just trying to find a way, the right way to approach someone with this, and as things stand at the moment, you haven't found it yet. Let's just have pull another card out for this Tower and just make sure that I'm catching everything that's going on here. Tell me about the Tower. Thank you. We've got the Eight of Pentacles. Oh, let's got one more. Eight of Pentacles and the Five of Cups. Yeah, like the Eight of Pentacles is work, is mastery, right? It's another eight. We're talking about where the power lies in this situation. And it seems like hard work is really the only way that you would get through this. But the Five of Cups has you focusing on entirely the wrong aspect of this. It's like all of your energy is going into something, and it's not the right place. The desire, the motivation may be correct, but it's almost like it's losing something in its execution. Possibly because, you know, the angle that you've been working with is not the one that is going to provide the results. Which is an interesting place to be. Now, maybe Venus retrograde has had for you, and if you're a Capricorn rising, that's been in your 8th house, has had for you, you know, a pretty profound effect in terms of how it has got your priorities straight about what you consider to be important. Like, there is a desire for peace. There is a desire to express, you know, love, frankly, and express it clearly and directly. And maybe you've felt very motivated to do that. But that Five of Cups, whether it is a case of focusing on the wrong thing, or whether in what you've been doing, you've actually kind of skirted over the top of somebody else's pain, not really engaged with it properly. I mean, we're back to this, maybe this idea of love languages, but I would imagine that there's a corresponding kind of apology language too. There seems to me like a desire to draw a line under something, and it's in doing so, you're not looking at the grief of the other person. It's almost like you're trying to skate across the top of it. And the problem with that is that this person's not going to feel seen by you. So that's where we've been. As we move into your current energy, we have the Three of Swords in reverse, which is actually a very positive card. Well, as positive as the Three of Swords can be. But the Three of Swords talks about, visceral heartbreak. It's the one card in the tarot that generally people don't need explaining to them if they haven't, if they're not familiar with the archetypal imagery. Because the sword's through the heart. I think all of us of a certain age, probably from about 12 upwards, know what it is like to feel that. Some of us who are unlucky know that feeling, much, much younger than that. It does feel like cold steel slicing through something that isn't supposed to be penetrated by anything. It's supposed to be whole and complete, and then suddenly there's cold steel right in the center of it. It's a very uncomfortable energy. I'm talking euphemistically. I mean, it can be completely fucking excoriating, actually. But when the Three of Swords shows up in the reverse, generally it is a card that indicates healing. Because as it is depicted in this deck here, and I'm going to find it so I can show you what I'm talking about. We've got all of the swords pointing downwards into the heart. And I do have an arbitrary rule, which is kind of swords up good, swords down bad, right? So the swords are coming down into the heart. And it is, lies, it's deception, it's betrayal by other people. I struggled with this Three of Swords for a little while because although it was obviously a classically emotional card, I couldn't work out why swords would be the suit that represented it. And after a bit of thinking about it, I realised that heartbreak doesn't have a... It's not temporarily specific, if I can put it that way. In so much as, there could be something that happens, and it happens at a point in time and space, and you don't find out about it until 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later. The pain that you feel at that point means that it doesn't matter when it happened, right? The pain is visceral and it's in the here and now. It's when the information hits your heart, not when the thing happens. And in light of that, nothing can be the same again. Like, it's just, everything's changed. There we go. I need to have gone past it somewhere. So this is the card that I'm talking about here, right? Everything seems bleak in the face of that. When you turn it upside down, as the Three of Swords is here, what you have is gravity doing some work. It is pulling the swords out, because they're going to be heavier at the top, right? It's the whole thing. Swords just slide out one at a time. It is a necessary precondition, I think, that the swords are removed for healing to occur. Because if the heart can't be whole, can't function with this steel sat through the middle of it. So the swords have got to come out. And whether you yoink them out consciously or whether you allow gravity to do its thing and pull them out so that then you can begin the slow process of healing afterwards. It doesn't really matter. I mean, the end result is the same because the preconditions for healing are recurring. Now we've got the Two of Pentacles here, which is a card of juggling. It's a card of trying to sort things out. It's pentacles, so often it's got a fairly practical aspect to it. There are practical things that you are doing in order to try and do this. The thing is, Capricorn, if it was any other sign that I was reading for here, I think I would go off down the track that I am going, but I'm going to kind of pull up short here a little bit, because the Devil card is your card. It's representative of you. Now, in the reverse, for all other signs, the Devil is a really, really good card of losing fear, right? And we connect it here with the Three of Swords, and we go, this is a really good thing. This person is losing their fear. They're allowing the healing to begin, or at least, the preconditions for healing to begin are in motion. And we've got somebody who's just kind of trying to work through stuff. Now, that might be true for you, Capricorn. But because your card is the Devil, and because it is now showing up in the reverse, that feels something like the possibility of inauthenticity here. And I don't think that you're doing it deliberately if this is something that is coming up here. But I'm looking at this emotional maelstrom in the background of this card here. We've got somebody who is putting on somewhat of a performance. He doesn't look very happy about it, but is putting on a bit of a performance here. I am coping. This is a card of coping to me, or at least trying to appear as if you are coping. It's an interesting fact that in the Waite-Smith, because Pamela Coleman Smith was a set designer, there are a few cards that have been designed to make it look as if they are on stage. There is a performative quality to some of these cards, and the Two of Pentacles is one of them. This is why I say it's my card of looking, trying to make sure it looks like you're coping. And when we weave all of this in, with the possibility of inauthenticity showing up here for you, it's like, where are you telling yourself that you're healing? And where is the reverse actually true? Because this seems to be a, look at me, I'm coping, I'm standing on one leg, everything's good. But we can see the emotional maelstrom that's going on in the background. We can see the ships are going up and down and over the waves here. And this looks perilous, actually. But because it's happening in the background, the eye is drawn to this person on stage here. And then we've got this one saying that you aren't necessarily showing up as authentically as you could be. And both of these cards are showing up under a card that is talking about healing, or the preconditions for healing. Well, let's pull another card here, because this is really quite interesting. Tell me about this. We've got the Three of Swords. And we've got the Lover's card. Which is putting this squarely in the middle of the two interpretations that I have given you. As a wasp has just appeared in my fucking space. Go away. Actually, let's just push that window open a little bit, so it can make its way out if it wants to. It feels like this is a tipping point here for you, Capricorn, because you've got a choice to make. We've got the Lover's card that is showing up twice, right? It's a nod to the fact that you manifest your reality, and we know this. And so the quality of the thoughts that are going into, and the quality of the feelings that are going into whatever kind of reality you're trying to manifest for yourself are vitally important, right? They're going to colour the way that this comes out. And the choice that you have to make is whether you're going to show up authentically, and whether you're going to willingly put the effort into healing that seems to be what you are trying to put out there into the universe. But whether all of this is kind of for show, because there is a fear of being seen. There's a fear of being observed. This is the strangest reading because there is the strongest implication that you are in your current energy sitting at a crossroads. And unusually for the tarot, there is a right way and there is a wrong way. And you are sitting squarely between the two. One will take you towards a much higher vibration of self and an actual healing. Okay? Something that will profoundly affect your existence. The other way is correspondingly dragging you much, much further away from the center than necessarily even you're aware of at the moment. And so there's a very careful contemplation of which route needs to be traveled here. Whether it is a true healing or whether it is something else. And the something else, whatever it is for you, Capricorn, if it is coming from a place of fear, if it's coming from a place of vengeance, if it's coming from a place of need to control the situation, rather than allowing yourself to be seen as you are, then the message is quite clear. You're going to get what it is that you're trying to manifest. And if you're not entirely sure that what you're trying to manifest is a higher expression of healed energy, or at least trying to launch yourself towards that, then I would hold off making any movements in any particular direction here. It's very rare that it's quite as clear cut as that. You know, when we talk about the crossroads, you know, obviously the imagery is we go left or we go right, but actually within that there is there are probably 15 different right ways that you could go, and there's probably like 3 or 4 like wrong ways that you could go, and maybe, you know, the right way would be right for so long, and then there's a deviation that needs to occur to take you back to some or keep you moving towards the higher expression of the energy, right? And that's why this conscious awareness of where you are in the present is so very important. It's not just an important thing for now, it's an important thing full stop. It's like an examination of motivation before you throw yourself too gung-ho into whatever it is that you're trying to manifest for yourself. And if you examine your motivations and they are pure, then you've got the green light to move forwards. That's brilliant. Go do that thing. But if there's a shred of fear in there anywhere, if there's a shred of a need to control a situation, if there's a shred of resentment or a desire to see people negatively affected, then this should be a pause. Okay? And we are now in Mercury retrograde, full-blown Mercury retrograde, and we will be until 14th, 15th of September, something like that. And then we have 3 weeks after that where the energy is winding down. The question that I would have for you is movement necessary at all? You know, because we've got this situation here that we were talking about at the beginning, where there seems to be a desire to repair broken bridges with someone. But we've also got this indication that possibly you might be thinking about things in the wrong way, or possibly you might not be properly recognizing somebody else's difficult emotions, right? So any attempt to kind of skirt over the top of that is going to be an issue moving forwards. And then we've got this very clear tipping point right in the center which is saying, just hold up a second before you start moving in any direction whatsoever. You need to check yourself, and you need to make sure that not only are you seeing all the pieces of the puzzle, but that you are correctly recognizing the image that is formed in the center of this. Now, as a practice, this is a good thing to do anyway, to be honest. It's a good thing to remain present because, quite a lot of Capricorn energy is very future facing, right? It doesn't exist here, it's over there. It's in the achievement of what it is that you're setting out to do in the future. And then the single-minded slog towards it. But as we've talked about many times in the past, like sometimes that stops you from recognizing where there's a point where you should be taking a slightly different route, because you got your route planned out, that's the way that it's going, and it doesn't really take into account new information as it comes along, or the way that things change. It's very resolute, and this is why you are so successful at certain things that you do. But it comes at a cost, and the cost is sometimes the awareness of what is going on in the here and now. Sometimes it might be at the cost of understanding what has gone before, because it's so future facing. Now this energy here is kind of like, just hold still for a moment. Just check that you are thinking about things in the right way. You might not be in an intractable situation, but you might have decided that there is only one outcome that is good for you, and it's the way that you've decided that it should be. If that's the case, then you feel like you're being drawn down the wrong path here, because there's an inflexibility about that. And there is, for some of you at least, something that isn't really getting the light of day shone on it. There's something possibly kind of performative about the coping that's going on here, and then by extension performative about the healing that you perceive that you are bringing to a situation or feeling about a situation. And this requires careful contemplation. And then we come to September. Now September sees that 10 of Wands in reverse, and it's got the 9 of Pentacles and the King of Swords here with it. And I like this, right? Where there's a great deal of uncertainty here in the present, this seems to be shifting in the future, because I would put money on the fact that you've gone back to the drawing board, certainly where you are concerned and where your motivations are concerned, to have a look and make sure that you're coming from the right place. As I was saying before, the 10 of Wands is a card of burden, but ultimately it is one that speaks of an end. So whatever has been hard is coming to a state of completion. Now, when we reverse it, are we protracting the amount of time that it's taking to get to the end? Or are we deviating from the course that we had set for ourselves before it gets to the point where it is so fucking hard that it breaks us? The 9 of Pentacles says it's the latter, because the 9 of Pentacles is about the management of your resources. I find any card numbered 9, and this is just me, I don't hear anybody else talking about it in these terms, but this is the way that I interpret these cards. Any card numbered 9 is about the way that you as an individual manage whatever suit it is that it represents. So in the case of the Pentacles, because I see the Pentacles as energetic currency, what you have to invest, what you have to buy shit with, energetically speaking, which is your time, your care, your money, your effort, your love, all of those things are Pentacles. It's about making sure that you're managing those effectively, so there are no leaks in your bucket. You're not being pulled in 15 different directions. You're not making life hard for yourself needlessly. It's taking care of what you need to take care of, and it's making sure that you have time to be in your garden and stand with a little hawk on your hand, just enjoying life, right? Just vibing in the garden and being like, this is all really cool, I really like this, which is not something that you can do if you are in a constant state of burden and overwhelm and making things hard for yourself. The King of Swords is very clear thinking about how one will manage one's resources, how one will conserve what it is that needs to be conserved. I mean, I think it's possible that this month you might be, for example, some of you might be looking at your financial situation and going, do you know what? Like, I need to pull my belt in just a little bit. Some others of you might be looking at your situation and going, do you know what? I live with my belt tucked in all the fucking time and it's like 3 notches too tight. It would not hurt for me to just relax a little bit. Because if we're relaxing with the money, we can relax energetically too. We can just kind of breathe in a way that we haven't been able to before. The King of Swords helps the decision-making process. I mean, we've got cards all over that are talking about decision-making processes here. The King of Swords augurs really, really well that the right decision is being made. But it needs to be coming from a place of considering your resources, whether they are your financial and material resources or whether they are your energetic resources, like simply just the energy levels that you have available to. I mean, how much fun do you have in your life, Capricorn? I mean, this might be a thing. Like, is everything a little bit too serious all of the time? Or can you kick back a little bit and just allow yourself to breathe? Let's pull another card for that because I'm really interested in this. So we have the Five of Wands and we have the Empress with the Ace of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Where can I put this that you can see it? Actually, you should be able to see it there, right? The Five of Wands is exactly half of the Ten of Wands, interestingly enough, but it speaks about conflict. It talks about the things that we have been conflicted with. Now, it could be that you have been investing your resources in being at war with yourself or with somebody else. That's possible. It could be that you're conflicted. You have been conflicted. And it's in recognizing that you've been conflicted that the domino effect of, right, how do I sort this situation out? How do I get to a point where I can vibe in my garden and I feel like I'm doing the right thing and I'm making sure that I don't hit that breaking point there? It's like the decision-making process is actually between the Five of Wands and the Empress. Now, the Five of Wands, like I said, is conflict, it is strife, it is things being difficult, it is being at war, whether it is with yourself or with another person or with a situation. The Empress is altogether a more solid energy. And it's one that talks about creativity and abundance. It's fertility. It's the things that you are grateful for. You know, this Empress here is pregnant, and I love that. Because, you know, in being pregnant, she's talking about the process of the creative act. It's like, where has your energy been going into something when it could have been better invested into something else? Where is the energy of the Ten of Wands, kind of like a spectre that is on the horizon for you? And where can you recognize that it's been dragging your focus away from what it is that you should be focusing on, what it is that actually makes you feel full of life? Because in September it looks to me like you're going to be making that decision and you're going to be making it well. But this here has been a sticky point for you. Now, I mean, there's a potentially more traditionally negative way that I could read these cards for September, but I don't actually feel like there's any point in sharing that because I do feel like there's some challenging of ego going on here. And by extension, there's some challenging of identity, but it's going on within you, Capricorn, to yourself. And in light of what you're finding there, then we have a whole different sort of situation playing out than it could be otherwise, because we've got the Ace of Wands at the bottom of the deck. There's the initiation of doing something differently, right? It's doing something new, something that you haven't done before. We already established that you're in the process of attempting to manifest something. You've been given it a lot of thought over here. But the Five of Wands is an unstable energy. It's an exhausting energy. The Empress is far more nurturing, it's far more solid, it's far more grounded. It's a much more grounded approach to whatever it is that you're dealing with in your life. And that seems to me to suggest far more of an energy of avoiding burning yourself out, financially, emotionally, but however, physically, in favour of doing what is the more sensible thing, which is conserving your resources and funneling them through to something creative and grounding for you. This is really interesting, Capricorn. It's a very fascinating reading. So I'm going to go over to do the extended now. You can either join me on Circle or you can join me on Vimeo, whichever you like, if you would like to do so. Links for both are in the description box. But if that doesn't appeal to you, I would be very mindful this month, very mindful indeed, and be willing to check your thinking at every single point. I mean, we're in Virgo season for most of September, right? And that really is an energy of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But Virgo is also the healer too. And so Virgo is going to want you to be very specific in your investigations of your own healing and the expression of that, but also everything else that you're looking to do after that. Virgo likes perfection in things. And so anything half-baked is not going to do in Virgo season, certainly not for most of September. So be willing to look at the detail. Be willing to look at the detail of your own pain and check that it isn't blinding you to something, to the right route forwards, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. Is if you do that and you're willing to sit with what comes up and properly process what comes up, it might change your mind about the direction of travel, where it is that you're going. There's something a little bit more flexible about the energy of the Empress than there is about the energy of the Hierophant, which is the other Taurian card. And I may not have Jupiter in Taurus at the moment as well. It's like the expansion of good fortune comes from working to those higher principles of Taurus, and by extension also, really getting to know yourself and make sure that there isn't something here that you're fooling yourself about in order to reach a goal that you set for yourself a while ago. Very interesting. All right. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.